Hi, this is Linda and welcome back to my channel. In this video, I'm putting together my Project Life spread for the week of May 10th through May 13th, 2025, and this is covering our visit to San Francisco, California. Let's go ahead and dive right in. Okay, so this is the week or the few days that we were in San Francisco. So I do have one additional photo that is not right here because it's got my boyfriend in it and I didn't want to put adhesive on it. But I am thinking that that photo will go up here. So I'm just going to leave this here to kind of cover that 4th of July. And let's see. So I had 5 4x6 pockets. And I don't know that I wanted that many 4x6 photos included. So what I did was printed a few additional 3x4 so I can include kind of like a 3x4 in this pocket. Let's see, I think something like that. And then maybe put this one right here. Well, I'm gonna put this one. There we go. Okay, that's just a good kind of starting layout. So for this spread, I'm working with the older whole story kit. I've already kind of pulled it out here. So recently I went through my stash of kits that I hadn't yet broken up. Most of them I'd already used at least once, but I hadn't felt like I'd used enough to break the kit up, and I am using some of them or breaking some of them up. So this one I thought would be good for San Francisco because I like the colors, and it had a few like kind of travel related things. Like this is this not geographically correct map, a globe, and I'm thinking I could use this to create a title card and put San Francisco across it. I'm not sure what background I'm going to do yet, so I like that idea. And let's see, I'm thinking some of these kind of fit really well, the whole wide world. There's also a couple other circles. And then I'm going to go through these cards. So I saw that there was this writing it down, and I think that would be good to include kind of just like my journaling about San Francisco and just put it all on one card here, or most of the card, or most of it on one card. And then I have these other, let's see, 3x4 cards. So there's a missing you. Could be about missing pumpkin, but my boyfriend was with me and I didn't have a photo of pumpkin. I don't know that if I had a photo of him like that I had saved from a summer watching him, that would have been cute, but I don't think I did. So I have this one that says like part of the story. There's 2 of them, and I think those might make cute filler cards. I'm not sure if I want to use both though. And then let's see, this one says one piece of the story, and so I could use that to add a little bit more journaling. And then I'm thinking maybe like this has my whole heart, could be just like a nice filler to be cute. And then that one will also be a filler card. And then this one I think is going to come together pretty simply because I'm kind of just going to put most of my journaling there. I think this card is going to take a little bit of time. And then there's a few other ones here. You are my whole world. I feel like some of these are a little bit too like this is the best thing ever for just visiting a city. This one would be a fun filler if I needed more filler, but I don't. And then this one is also a good kind of prompt card. So those will be nice to have in my stash. This kit also had quite a few of these like half circles and quarter circles, and I feel like these are better for a traditional layout, so I'm going to save them for that. And then it had this one too. Cut these out and put them back together to create a whole, which I thought was a little odd because it's a 4x6 card, but you like have to cut it out, but they'll be cute once I cut them out. But that again will be for another layout. This whole could be really cute for a title, but it's not the right word for this story, so I'm not going to use it. I do have these, so I might bring some over for my stash to put like on a few of the photos. And then I'm thinking maybe I could use more of these, like all the feels for like the full houses, the painted ladies. Love all of you. Could just be on a photo here, and then like maybe like this one, I could put some word phrase strips on top of that. I feel like that looks good. And then these two I think are fine just going into my stash. Okay, so what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna put you guys on voiceover, and I'm going to get this card put together, which I think is gonna take the majority of my time. I'll do my journaling for these two cards and go ahead and like kind of put everything together. Okay, so as I suspected, this one comes together pretty quickly, but what I'm going to start on first is this title card, because this is going to take the majority of my time. I went over to my stash of 6x6 papers and picked a couple to compare here to use as a base, and I decided to go with this gray one. I don't recall where these papers are from. They've been in my stash for a really long time, but the 6x6 papers are really good for pulling from to use in project life because it just easily cuts down to a 4x6. I wanted to use this gray one, but because this globe was semi-transparent, when I put it on top of the gray, you could kind of see the gray through it, and it was darkening the globe, and I didn't like that look. So what I did was I just adhered it on some white scratch paper, cut around it, and adhered that on top of the gray piece. And then I'm cutting off the extra of the globe. So you just have a globe there as my base for this card. And then what I'm going to do is stamp out San Francisco. So I found this stamp in my stash. This is one of the Alphas Are Awesome stamp sets from Ellie Edwards, and it's the same font as used in this story kit. So it was perfect for this spread to kind of tie everything together. I think Ellie Edwards does use a lot of the same fonts over and over again, and she is turning those into these Alphas Are Awesome stamp sets. So I highly recommend looking through the stamp sets that are available on her website and selecting ones that match the kits that you have so that you can coordinate like this. Alpha stamp sets are some of my favorites, and I use them a lot. So I do have all of the Alphas Are Awesome stamp sets. I full disclaimer, I am fortunate enough to be on her team so that I do get these sent to me. But if I didn't, I would purchase a lot of them myself because I do find these to be very versatile stamp sets. This one, I was actually very excited though because I hadn't used it before. It's so tall and narrow. It's not very useful on a lot of projects, but it really worked here. And now that I am seeing it back, I do really like how it came out. So I'm going to try to use this one a little more frequently. So when I did my stamping, I stamped out on vellum. And I stamped each letter there, and you can see I stamped like 2 S's and stuff because I'm stamping them in order of the word San Francisco, but because I'm going to cut them out, I can just do both S's at once just to save a little bit of time because there's 2 S's in San Francisco, in case you were wondering what the random assortment of letters was that I was stamping. And then I'm just going to fussy cut all of these out, and I will adhere them on top of here. I'm laying them on top of it first just to kind of get an idea of how it's going to look. I was a little concerned that they wouldn't fit on this card, but because they're so tall and narrow, you can fit pretty long words on a 4x6 card using the stamp set, and you still have a really big, bold title, which I really love. And again, like why I'm probably going to try to use the stamp set a little more frequently. So now I'm just going through the word and finding the center, and I'm going to use that to adhere that one down first and then build out from there. And I will overlap the letters slightly in hopes that it will fit on here, but I did kind of eyeball it first so that I knew it would at least be close. If it looked like it wasn't going to fit, then I would have come up with a backup plan. But this is going to end up fitting, and it gets very, very close. It goes all the way to the edge, but I'm super happy with how it turns out. To add the dates on here, I have this chipboard label that was in my stash. I believe that was from a December daily collection, but I'm not entirely sure, but it is from Ellie Edwards. And I used some of those recently in my travel album for my trip to Dubai and Doha, and they were really nice for adding the dates for a location. And I really just liked how they came out. So it was just kind of in the front of my mind because I recently finished up that album. So I went to grab one to add here. I definitely could have used just a regular label sticker. I didn't need the chipboard and that extra dimension, but I was happy to have it here, and I like how it came out. I took this card over to my sewing machine and stitched it down. I have black thread in my sewing machine. It did get caught a little bit and tore a little on the edge there, which you saw me kind of like touching it, but I can't really tell on camera, so I'm okay with it. It's not perfect, but that's going to happen sometimes when you're stitching on paper. I'm just going to go around and add all of these chipboard pieces, adhere them down. This is an older story kit, so they are adhesive backed. I feel like they're not adhesive backed on a lot of the more recent ones. But this one, I feel like this kit is from at least a couple years ago, and I'm happy to have this opportunity to pull it out of my stash. Like I said earlier in the video, I had a stack of unfinished kits that were older because once I was on the team for Allie Edwards and I've consistently produced content for you guys in the story kit classrooms and now the storyteller classrooms, planning out my spreads for each project, that keeps me accountable to plan those projects for each kit and have that ready to go. However, prior to being on her team, I did that for most kits, but I fell behind sometimes and I would skip a kit and move on to the next one. So I did have a decent amount of kits that had never been planned, and they were just sitting there in my stash. A lot of them I had used pieces from, either to create a project life spread or maybe do 1 or 2 projects without planning it in advance. But most of the kits were still intact, and there were a few of them that I hadn't touched at all. So my plan is to go through those over the next few months and share some story planning with you guys here and just use them. So this one, I had used it for, I think I used it in Project Life. I think I used it in a few other places, but there was enough left in it that I wanted to use it for a Project Life spread, and I thought it would work perfectly for this one. This kit is also close to my heart because at the time that this kit was designed, Allie had solicited ideas from me. I was newly on her creative team, and I did come up with some of the ideas, like those circle things, the circle globe and the rainbow and the pie chart. That was my idea, and I was super happy that it actually made it into the kit and was hoping that I would have an opportunity to design more, but I have not yet. So what I'm doing now is I really wanted to type on these cards, and I was trying really hard to get the cards into my typewriter, and unfortunately they just won't go. They're too thick of cardstock. It just wasn't going to fit in there. So what I decided to do instead was just make some marks on a thin piece of white paper, and I'm going to use that to type on, to type my story, and then I'll crop it out and just adhere it on top of those cards. That does mean I'm going to have that white piece of paper glued on there. I'm going to have a white border, but that's okay. It doesn't bother me to do that because it's just on top of a white portion. So I have a manual typewriter here. If you are new here, this is my manual typewriter, Olive. And I got her for my birthday in last October, and I've used her in a variety of projects, but she is a manual typewriter, which means that there is no undo button and you have to be very careful as you're typing that you get things right. And I am someone who types very fast but makes a lot of typos. I cannot type very fast on Olive because of the manual nature of the way that the letters click. Sometimes if I type 2 letters at once, they will hit each other. I also, for whatever reason, some of the letters are not in the correct spot that I am used to. A couple of them have been switched. And so I do frequently make mistakes, especially those letters that are switched. So there are some mistakes in my typing. So for using a manual typewriter, I have to accept the fact that it's not going to be perfect, and that's okay. I did have a few false starts there as I had some typos at the very beginning, and I just figured I could start over. But I typed out my stories here, and then I'm going to put these onto those 2 journal cards. So this longer one here is just basically an overview of everything we did in San Francisco. I started it out by saying this is what we did on day 1, this is what we did on day 2, and then I realized I missed a big piece of day 1. So instead, I just kind of said, oh, and then we did all of these other things, just kind of listing them out. I'm not too concerned with having a full recap of what we did on the trip because I did include that in my daily journal, and I will likely do a travel album. I have plans to do a travel album for this trip, so I will do that at some point, but I do have a few other vacations I want to document first, so I'm not sure when I will get to that. This one piece of the story one was about taking Waymos. If you followed along on Instagram while I was in San Francisco, Waymos are driverless cars. They are completely automated Ubers, essentially. Not run by Uber though, so taxis.
and we took quite a few of them, and it was really cool. And I just was documenting that specific story on that card. Now I'm just going to go ahead and slip these in the pockets and wrap this one up. This one came together pretty quickly, and I'm happy to have it done and documented. Here's a look at that completed spread. Thank you guys so much for being here. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them down below. And as always, I hope to see you guys on the next one. Bye.